Hi, I'm Ailey for Design Break, and today I'm going to talk about branding for early stage companies. When you're just starting out with your business, branding can be a really big expense, and at this stage, there's quite a lot of trial and error on what you think your brand is going to look like and what it actually might end up looking like. So, it doesn't make a lot of sense to invest a lot right at the very start of your branding journey. So I'm going to kind of talk about the different ways you can segment your branding journey to allocate a good amount of budget to each stage so you're not investing a lot and then having to change that later on. So when you're just starting out with branding, it's quite good to use an experimental type approach where you can just spend a little bit of time and money to get started, and then you're still agile enough that you can change that. You've not committed a huge expense on this big, huge branding, in-depth branding project that you don't want to then change because you've already invested all of that into it. So an example of a mistake that someone might make, say there's a company, a vegan cake company. At the start of that journey, the business owner might think that the brand should be quite green and organic looking, to appeal to the vegan market, and that's their assumptions of their target audience. But then when they start actually producing their product and getting it out there, they realize their audience actually might relate more to like an edgy and fun, colorful brand rather than the green, natural, organic brand. So that's an example of where trial and error and being able to be agile in your brand journey would come in quite handy. Okay, so to start with, it's good to bear in mind that not all branding is equal. So there's different parts, there's different aspects of your brand that all kind of come together to make what your brand is. Your brand isn't a logo and your colors, and it's not just the visual identity. It's that's sort of the tangible assets of your brand, and then there's the intangible. So how your customers feel when they interact with you or your product, and just the whole experience and what your values are. And that all comes together along with your logo and visual identity to create what your brand is. So when you're just starting out, when you're thinking about the tangible assets of your brand, sort of the visual identity and the logo, it's easy to think that you need to spend a lot of money on this part when you're getting started, and you need to get it right straight away. And it is good if you've got a big budget to be able to spend to get started, to get off the ground. That's a nice idea, but what makes more sense is to invest more of your time rather than your money, thinking about what your brand means and trying to position it in the market and working out where exactly your brand is going to sit in the market, what makes you unique. So to get started, it's better to think of your investment more of a time investment than a money investment. So you don't want to go away and spend a lot hiring an agency or designer when you're kind of at this discovery phase. You want to spend a lot of time just working out and understanding your brand and what your brand means. So the most important part is just really trying to understand your brand, spend a lot of time to try and understand its position and have one simple and unique message. What makes you stand out? Why do your audience really like your brand over your competitors or other companies in that space? And really try to stick to that and be really consistent. So next I wanted to look at sort of different stages of branding depending on where you're at with your company. So for example, you might just be in the idea stage and you kind of just want to work things out and have a basic identity there. Then you're kind of proving the concept, and then once you've got that proof, you can then invest a lot more time and money into your visual identity. And I've got some rough guides of pricing for each stage. So this is a really big generalization. I've just really simply broken it down into 3 stages. Obviously, there's a lot more intricate parts to branding, and everyone's brand journey is a bit different. So this is just kind of a loose guide on what to expect and how much to budget. So when you're just starting out, you're kind of in the idea stage. You've got your idea formed in your head, and your only cost at the moment is just your time trying to work out that strategy, your position in the market, and the things that we talked about before. So at this point, you can hire someone in to help you out to work out the strategy. And a lot of good branding designers will, they won't just supply a logo, they'll talk about the strategy and try and work out the strategy behind your brand, so it's not kind of just a superficial logo. But that's not, it's not necessary at this stage to hire someone. You can kind of DIY this part with yourself and your team and kind of just work out the thinking behind your brand. So once you've kind of defined what your brand means internally within your team, all of your messaging that you put out can start coinciding with what you think, what your value is, what your message is. But it's good to know, it's good to bear in mind that this can change. So it's not set in stone. You don't have to stick with that. This is kind of like a discovery phase, and you want to be able to be agile and change depending on what the market tells you and what your audience tell you and what you find. So you kind of start off with a lot of assumptions and speculation and research, but it's only when you start actually putting things out there and actually discovering in real life that you get the feedback that you can then use to sort of change, just to adapt your brand. So once you're moving away from the idea stage, you're kind of in the initial identity stage, and at this point you might just need a basic logo, maybe even a basic website and some visuals there. But even at this stage, you don't have to invest a lot. You can work with a freelance designer. You can probably budget anywhere between $100 to $5,000 or more. It kind of just depends on how much you've got to spend there. But even if you get a logo done, this doesn't have to be your final iteration. Maybe you don't even want to commit to a logo at this point. You just want to get some visuals there that you can start using on prototype products and on a website and things like that. And this is really where you can prove your concept and trial out a bit more and get some actual feedback and maybe even get some investment into your company at this stage. So the next stage, I like to call it the educated branding stage. So you've got a lot more confidence now. You've proven your space in the market. You've had customer feedback, and you're a lot more confident in investing money in your brand. So you can really spend anywhere between $5,000 and $50,000+, just depending on the level you're at with your branding, and sort of how in depth you want to go with how comprehensive you want your brand to be. The good thing about doing it in stages like this is by the time you get to this stage, you've got a lot more confidence and you've proven your space in the market. So it's a lot less of a risk because you know you've got the backing there and you know you're in the right direction. So whatever you invest is going to be worthwhile. Okay, so that was just a really quick overview. And as I said, it was a huge generalization of different stages of branding. Obviously, if you've got the budget there and you want to hire an agency or designer straight away as you're getting started, it's not wrong to do that. Everyone's brand journey is different, so you can really do whatever you feel comfortable with. But it's good to have proof of concept and sort of do it in stages and be able to be agile with your branding as you're going along, and discovering more about your audience and where you sit in the market. But the most important thing is just consistency. So really defining your brand and knowing what your unique place is in the world and just really pivoting on that one idea, and just not overcomplicating it with loads of different aspects. You really want to just have one message and one thing that makes you stand out and really stick to that. Okay, so that was just a quick summary of what you might expect to budget in your branding process. I hope it helped you out. If you've got any questions, put them down below and like and subscribe for more. Bye.